Hi, I'm Marsha Kennedy, and I'm going to talk about the wall sculpture I created for Michelin. I'm a Greenville native. I grew up here, and I'm almost 40 years old. I went to school for about 23 years, and I used to work about 80 hours a week. But now I'm a single mom with a 1-year-old, so I work about 20 hours a week, and it is the hardest thing I've ever done. So, in my footage of my video and me making the sculpture, you'll see the baby asleep because when the baby fell asleep, I could finally have a chance to work on my work. So I went to school for a long time and I got a lot of degrees. One of them, I have a Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art and Theology from Notre Dame. Which brings me to the charity that I selected. I selected St. Anthony's Catholic School, which is a school here in Greenville. Has a great history. You should read about it on the website for the school. But I believe a faith-based education is very important. And many of the students who go to St. Anthony's aren't Catholic, but they do provide faith-based education. The price of tuition is really reasonable, and they're able to do this due to grants and donations. And I live on a limited income, and I wish I could give the school more. And hopefully, if I win, I'll be able to give this money to the school. So, the theme of my artwork is international inclusion. And when I approached this idea, I was trying to think about international inclusion in South Carolina, in the upstate, and how I would approach the project and how I would work with the materials. And so I decided I love working with gold leaf, and I also love the square and the circle because I was very influenced by post-minimalist art. So I work a lot with circles and squares. I just find them perfect shapes. So I decided in this piece to work with a square, and I cut the wood, and I made an outline of the state of South Carolina because I didn't want to just limit this to the upstate. I wanted to say we are all diverse, and we are all including this international inclusion. So I decided to make the flags out of rubber, the rubber from the tires. So when I went to select my tires, I was looking at the textures, trying to determine how I would create flags. And I got this great idea. Oh, this will be easy. I'll just use the kitchen shears and I'll cut the rubber. Which brings me to my challenges. I did not know tires had metal treads in them. And I have worked with saws. I took metal sculpture and wood sculpture in college, and I have some saws. But it's cold outside, and I don't have a heated workshop. I would have to either go out to my workshop, the shed, or work in the garage, and it's been pretty cold recently, so I had to do some problem solving. My first challenge was the weather. I didn't realize quite how cold it was going to be. After I applied my first layer of gold leaf, I went ahead and varnished and set my piece outside to dry. But then it started raining, and it didn't look that great, so I went back and redid it later and applied a different type of varnish that would dry differently. So I didn't want to be out in the cold, and then I had some rain, and of course it snowed. My next challenge was the materials. Okay, so I'm like, these tires, they have metal in them. What am I supposed to do? I tried to cut the tires with a jigsaw, and that didn't work out too well because unlike working with wood, which is a solid material, rubber is flexible, and I guess if I had clamped both sides of the rubber, that would have worked better, but also a tire is not flat. So you have to work with problem solving there. And when I tried to saw with the jigsaw, the rubber on the tire was vibrating with the saw. So I had to figure out another way to work. And I only really wanted the textures of the treads. So I did research about how the tires were made. And I decided to peel the treads away from the metal in the tire and just to use the textures that I really wanted. Okay, another challenge I had with my project was trying to figure out how to glue and attach the materials together, because the first material I tried didn't hold very well. So then I went to the hardware store and found some industrial adhesive. But I'm glad I did read the warning labels on the back, because it wasn't something that I would like to inhale, I would like to have in the home. So I ended up working with a double-sided permanent adhesive in addition to the glue gun, which I haven't used a glue gun in forever, and I hadn't really thought of it because I was thinking more about fine art materials instead of craft materials, but I also use that. Okay, what was so rewarding about this project? This project was very rewarding to me because it kind of reminded me of college. I'm like, oh great, I have a homework assignment. I'm the kid who, in the first grade, I got homework and I was so happy to have homework. I ran home from school and I did my homework, and I was so sad when I was done that I didn't have any more to do. But this has been my homework assignment for the past almost month and a half. And in college, I was given 2 weeks to complete an assignment, and I was taking like 5 courses at a time. So I had longer. I also had more time constraints with the baby. And I'm just so happy to have had the opportunity to work on this, because, you know, being able to create in this art, it's my happy place. So I really just want to thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my piece. And I hope when you look at it that the idea of international inclusion comes directly, to mind. And it kind of reminded me, I spent a summer in Nairobi interning with the United Nations. Been all over, even though I'm from here in Greenville. And at the United Nations, they have the flags lined up along the walkway. Every day when you enter the gate, you walk underneath the flags, and it's just so much grandeur. And I hope that, just viewing my piece, you get a little bit of the feeling of this, especially with the gold leaf. I like to add gold leaf to my pieces to show, that they are precious, and to give them that feeling. So, also, I wanted to work with the materials, the rubber, and I wanted to work with it like it was fabric. And I created the flags like fabric, and I attached them to the state outline that I did of South Carolina. And it's basically meant to make you feel, to leave you with the sense that this is who we are. We're South Carolina, but we're not just South Carolina. We're all these other cultures. This is who we are. And I just wanted you to feel like this is the fabric, this is the makeup, this is who we are. Thank you. The baby fell asleep. I can work on my project. These are my tires I've been working on. I chose them based on the textures. And I wanted to work with the rubber like it's fabric, but I didn't realize that tires have metal treads in them, and it's cold and rainy, and I don't want to have to work outside with my saws. So I had to do some problem solving, and I decided to peel the treads away from the tire and the metal pieces inside. It takes me about a day to do a quarter of a tire, and I have to rest for days in between because my hands get really sore. I'll show you what I do. See, this tire has a red stripe. I didn't want any stripes or anything in my design, so I decided not to use that part. On this one, I only took the treads that don't have the red on it. It helps if you wear gloves. I found this out the hard way. And I'm simply using a box cutter, a screwdriver, and some WD-40. So I scored the tire and had to use the screwdriver to get started. Use the razor to get underneath. Slowly, 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 peeling the tire up. I think this is going to be the last day. I'll have enough rubber, I think, to complete the project that I want to complete. So it's a lot easier once you get started. Getting started is the hardest part. And I go through with the box cutter. It's very important to have sharp blades as well. Be careful. And I go through cutting underneath the treads on top of the wire. And it helps to have the WD-40 here to sort of lubricant to make the cuts go easier. So this is what I've been doing for several days. I think today's my last day. I just go through, pulling the tire up and cutting. On this tire, you can see I already cut this much of it. And on this one, because of the red markings, I'm only cutting between two sections of red markings, and I think I'll have enough texture to get to the next step of my project. The baby's asleep. There's her babysitter. I can work on my project over here in the kitchen. So I wanted to put an outline of the state of South Carolina. I printed this off on some vellum, and it's about 3 by 3. I couldn't figure out how to project the image onto the wooden board, so I blew it up times 400 on the copier, which gave me this piece. And then I divided the state up like a puzzle, drawing lines and numbering them, and I blew it up another 400%, but then it was too big to fit on my board, so I went back to this and blew it up 300%. And then each piece, it took me about 1 page each piece to make the copies correctly. I blew it up to fit my board. pieces out and tape them back together to make it into the state of South Carolina. Once I had it there, I wanted to put the image on here, my board, which I did. I outlined it and I applied gold leaf on the outside. It took me about 2 days to do the gold leaf. And then I applied a thick varnish. This was my result. I had it outside drying and then it started raining on it. So I wasn't really happy. I mean, this is pretty, but this isn't exactly what I wanted. So I'm reapplying the gold leaf and revarnishing it. And this is what I've done so far today. I'm trying to do it all in one day. And I've done about half of it. I'm going to show you me doing this part right here. I've already applied the adhesive with the paintbrush here. And there's my gold leaf. My dad's here. He's going to hold the camera so you can see me applying some gold leaf. Okay. Okay, so this is some of the gold leaf, and I've applied the varnish. And the sheets are very thin. There are different ways to apply it, but I just do this. I've already applied the glue, so I just lay the gold leaf down. Push it on, and basically try it and peel it away without breaking it too much. If I do break it, I can go back and fill in the seams or the breakage points with small pieces of leaf. There's a sheet. It's easier to use this tissue paper to sort of put it down. Baby's asleep. There's today's sitter. Okay, the baby's asleep again, so I'm working on my rubber flags. I wanted to work with the rubber like it's fabric and to create flags to place on my wall sculpture. And I showed you how I took the tire treads off. I also have a sheet of some plain rubber, and I printed off some images of sovereign flags, and I'm making flags of the various countries out of the rubber. They're not glued down yet. I have to do that with industrial adhesive. I've already tried glue dots, permanent glue dots, some double-sided permanent adhesive, and it doesn't work very well, so I'll have to work outside with industrial strength adhesive and clamps and clamp it down. But I had been working cutting the rubber with my kitchen shears, which are now too dull, and I moved to the sewing scissors, which are pretty dull now, and I also have these pruners, these small pruners that I used to use for basket making, which I think I'm going to have to go out and buy some more kitchen shears. They work the best. So I've been cutting out the pieces. Right here you can see I'm working on a flag for the UK. And these are some scrap pieces that I also use. And I've been also drawing some of the emblems in black ink on the flag because I only wanted to work in black. Here's Kenya's flag. I did some drawing. Just have to attach the pieces together. So I finally finished. This is my final project. You can see the detail with the flags of the various countries.
And Mama.
Yes, Mama did this. And it's good. I'm finally done because
Mama.
she's awake. Uh-huh.